So we've covered quite a bit so far. Today we are starting our 8th lesson. We are beginning the 9th step of our outline and have summarized around 3,000 years of biblical history. Now we're moving into a time of Israel's journey called the time of the Judges, and this period lasts almost 300 years. Last week, we learned about how Joshua finished his time of claiming the land that God had promised. Joshua stepped out in faith, trusting God's direction, and when he did, God showed up and did most of the fighting for Israel. God then instructs Joshua to separate the land into 12 regions, one for each of the 12 tribes of Israel. Now, though the Israelites have not quite finished the work that God called them to, God shows kindness and mercy and gives Joshua's generation a time of rest. The work will have to be completed by the next generation. Now, if you want something to last, you need to think about how it will be maintained over time. We once had a 1990 Ford F-150 truck. In 2004, we had to replace all the brake lines. The mechanic told us that no one made these lines anymore. So we would have to hire someone to manufacture these lines to fit our truck. And we really liked our truck, but not that much. That was the end of that truck for us. You see, if measures are not taken to make sure that resources are available for necessary maintenance, then what was made will eventually fade away. In Judges 2:7 we read, "The people worshiped the Lord throughout Joshua's lifetime, and during the lifetimes of the elders who outlived Joshua. They had seen all the Lord's great works he had done for Israel." So what Joshua built did well, at least for that generation. But we also read in Judges 2:10, after them another generation rose up who did not know the Lord or the works he had done for Israel. How does this happen? Joshua's generation lived well, but they did not manage to pass on their faith to their children. We need to understand that living for God cannot just be a personal matter. If knowing and loving God is right and true, then we need to do our best to pass it on to others. Remember, the problem with the world is sin. This means that we are wired to drift away from God, not toward Him. So if we're not intentional in our pursuit of God, then we will naturally find ourselves drifting from God. And this will put us in a spiritually hazardous place. If we genuinely call on God, He is happy to deliver us. But when we are delivered, will we wander again in our rest? Or will we set up structures to remind ourselves to stay devoted to God? This is a cycle that happens over and over again for hundreds of years during Israel's time with the Judges. As you are learning to live your lives devoted to God, are you sharing this devotion with others? Are you passing your love for God along to someone else? Or will your love for God end with you, leaving those to come without knowledge of the good news that is only found in Jesus? Today, as your teachers continue to pass their faith along to you, think about someone you can pass your faith along to. Maybe you can help each other think of practical ways you can do this a little more, even this week.